Hello team, it is Mental Health Awareness Week, so we wanted to create a video that was talking about mental health. And we've shared before in the, about Emily's journey with anxiety and panic attacks and depression. We'll link some of the previous videos that we've created below in the bio. But this one is going to be Em's top tips for dealing with anxiety and panic attacks. They kind of apply to both situations, don't they?
Yeah.
But we kind of get a lot of emails and a lot of texts from friends to ask about what would be our top tips for dealing with kind of anxious feelings or, you know, having anxiety as a diagnosed condition. So let's create a video, we thought, to actually put it in one place. So here we go.
First of all, I just wanted to say that we feel super privileged that people feel like they can email us or contact us in any way to ask for advice or to just vent. And this video isn't us saying please stop contacting us. Like, watch the video by all means, but if you've got questions, please still email us. Like, that's great. I love that you feel like you can do that. Anyway, let's move. So my first 4 tips are, like, say you're going to an event and you want to manage your anxiety throughout that event. Say that be a wedding or like a concert, a festival, anything like that, or even just like the supermarket. Like, I remember when I was really bad, like even just going into the supermarket was just too overwhelming. So these kind of 4 tips are for managing yourself in that situation. So number 1, I've written fresh air. So I find it really useful to get some fresh air, whether that be open a window if you can't get outside, and stand by that window so that you're in the breeze, you're breathing in that fresh air. It's generally colder air than the air you've got inside, which is really great. Or if you can go outside, go and stand outside, even just for a couple of minutes. If you've got more time, go for a little walk around the block. Like, that will help you really process all the things you're feeling as well as those benefits of like the fresh air.
Something about stepping outside and having space, but also sometimes if it's cooler outside as well, that shock factor can sometimes snap you out of kind of that headspace of just being in that anxious mode. So those are kind of the practical reasons why we do that.
Number 2, I've put sit on the end of a row. So that's generally if I'm going to see a show or a concert, or I'm at a wedding, or in any church service, which I seem to be in a lot. So we find it really helpful to sit on the end of a row. That just means in my head I can get out. If I'm sat in the middle of the row, of course I can still get out, but I have to disturb half the row, and psychologically I don't want to do that because then all those people are focusing their attention on me, and that just, as you would know, it doesn't help when you're feeling anxious. So if I'm on the end of a row, in my head I can just slip out and no one will notice, and that just helps me deal with that more because I know I've got to get out. And when we book tickets for a show, we always choose our seats on the, and when you can, we choose the end. And if you can't choose your seats, we will ring the box office and say that I have anxiety disorder and I need to sit on the end of a row, and they've always been great. We're yet to have an issue. They're always like, yeah, not a problem, we'll find you some seats on the end of a row. And if it's like a booking form, I've like written a little note on it that says, please can I have a seat on the end of a row because of this reason, and again, they've always been fine. So don't be afraid to ask. Like, everyone's been great. So yeah, that's
and it's important to note that once you actually get there, no one in the audience knows that you've got anxiety or you might have a panic attack or whatever. So actually, for all they know, you've just struck gold and got at the end of a row. Like, no one knows why you've chosen that, so you don't have to think, oh, everyone knows, because
they don't.
No one knows. So just that's something that we've tried to bang into your
remember
head.
Third one is when I feel like I've used those exercises but actually I'm still wobbling, I breathe in as slowly as I can. I hold it for 3 seconds and then I breathe out, and then I breathe in, hold for 3, breathe out. And I can't remember who told me that, but I think it might have been when I was having...
I think it was a doctor.
Yeah, I think it was when I was having my cognitive behavioural therapy. If you've not heard about that, Google it. It was great. Yeah, so I think it was when I was having my CBT that 3 seconds is what it takes for the oxygen to move most effectively from the lungs into the bloodstream or something. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. There was a reason it was 3 seconds. So in my head, I'm like, if I hold it for 3 seconds, I'm getting enough oxygen, which when I'm trying to fight a panic attack and all you can think is that you're going to die, that's really helpful. Again, I'm not a doctor, so if you're a doctor and you're watching it, that might be wrong. But there was a reason and it helps.
If I'm there, I will either say 1, 2, 3, breathe out, breathe in, or if it's kind of in public and you don't want to bring attention to yourself, I will either squeeze her hand, 1, 2, 3, or tap her leg, 1, 2, 3.
And then no one else notices, which again, helpful.
Yeah, so that's just an extra added Ben tip.
And the fourth in that set of 4 is to ground yourself, and that's kind of however you feel necessary. If I'm struggling and I'm stood up, the first thing I would do is sit on a chair if I can, or lean against a wall, because
it's not going to go anywhere.
It can't go anywhere. Yeah, if I faint and I'm sat down, yeah, I might fall off the chair, but it's better than if I'm standing up. Like, do you know what I mean? And just feeling that solidness underneath me, like I can feel the pressure of my weight on the chair, and that's grounding. I also find it really helpful to like rub my feet on the floor. Again, it like grounds you to the ground. You feel something solid, and just being aware of what you can feel just helps to bring yourself back to reality, I think. Once you feel, I know if sometimes once I've passed a stage, I can't really have people touching me. I find that too stressful. But if you can, it is really helpful if Ben like just pushes on my shoulders a little bit, or just like squeezes, not hard, but just a little bit of like deep pressure on just on your arms, your back, your shoulders. If you can, your legs. I tend to can't really cope with legs, but
or if you're lying down, I would do like that. Like imagine we're lying, to have that weight, or a weighted blanket is good as well. We've never actually got one of those, but
they're just expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love a weighted blanket. That would be really helpful. So if you have access to a weighted blanket, highly recommend. So then my other 6 are, say you've got a stressful situation at work or at school or in a friendship circle or something like that.
Or you're just feeling anxious.
Or you're just feeling anxious because, as you all know, sometimes you just feel anxious. And you don't know why, and that's really frustrating. What I find for managing that kind of situation is to have a pen and paper and write everything down that you're thinking. Sometimes that's really hard because sometimes I can't comprehend what I'm thinking, and I know that sounds really stupid.
Sorry, doggy wants the ball.
I know that sounds really stupid, but sometimes, I don't know, you're not thinking in full sentences, but even so, even if you can just like think of some words that are in your brain that are obviously bothering you, write them down. Or if it is, okay, I've been put up for possible redundancy, like write everything down that you're thinking about. And I just find that really helpful. I feel like it gets it out of my head, and obviously it's still there, but I just feel like that's a great way for me to get it out. I can see it on paper. It quite often helps me to gain perspective of my situation because I can see it. Yeah, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's worth giving it a go. More often than not, I find it does help. Okay, another one is to have a bath or a shower. Generally, I would have a shower because if I'm feeling anxious, I get really hot, so I wouldn't want to sit in a hot bath. However, I know baths, a lot of people find them really relaxing. So if temperature isn't a trigger for you, then potentially a bath could be really great because it would help you chill. If you've got like some lavender bath salts or some nice music, it just would help you relax. But I have a shower to reset almost. I know that sounds really silly, but my mum, when I was a kid, this is hilarious, I can't believe I'm about to tell a story. When I was a kid, if I was like stroppy or grumpy or just like in a mood, my mum would joke and she'd be like, do you need to have a shower to wash the grubs away? And I honestly think that stayed with me. Like, so I now get in the shower and I'm like, okay, I need to wash this off, I need to reset. But it does work. Now, whether that's just because I was brainwashed into that as a child, I don't know. But I've written it down because it works for me.
Some people do sleep instead though, don't they?
Yeah, sleep would also reset, but I know it's quite hard to get to sleep.
Yeah, if your brain is whizzing.
You know, that's so. Thanks, Mum, for that one. Chamomile tea is something I only discovered a couple of years ago, but I mean, I'm no expert. I can't tell you if it actually works or not, like scientifically, but supposedly chamomile tea has like calming properties. It does seem to work. Now, whether that's psychological or whether that is actual, I don't really care. If it works, it works. Like, I'm not bothered.
Peppermint as well.
Peppermint's really good to settle my stomach. So if you're, I can quite often get triggered if my tummy starts to feel funny. So yeah, peppermint tea is quite good for that. I always have, in just a little freezer bag, I always have a chamomile tea bag in my handbag all the time. And I think I need to swap it because the one that's been there has been there for quite a while, so I don't think I'd want to use that. But just in case, it's just one of them things. It's a coping mechanism that I've always got with me, and it's quite normal to go for a coffee shop and ask for, like, oh, can I have some hot water with this tea bag? Like, no one's going to think, oh, there she goes, she's about to have a panic attack. They're just going to think she's thirsty. Like, that's fine. Another one is an app called Headspace. Look at it. Again, it's just about breathing exercises and clearing your head. We found it useful. I don't really use it anymore, but when I was really quite poorly, I would say we probably used that 4 or 5 times a day, didn't we?
Yeah, not every night, to try and help your brain switch off. It's a mixture of breathing exercises, kind of, they call it meditation, but it's just chilling out, sitting with your thoughts. It's nothing like spiritual or weird. It's literally about being aware of what's in your brain. They're not even trying to get rid of it or dismiss them.
Accepting what's in your brain, putting it to a side and focusing on your breathing and your heart rate, which we found really helpful. So take a look at that. That was Headspace. The final one, which I know this is probably what should be the easiest one, but I think is actually the hardest one. That is to talk to somebody you trust. Now, that can be really, really hard because to admit that you're struggling, or the stigma around mental health just is really, really naff to have to deal with, and I'm really sorry you have to deal with that. But if it's a close friend or your partner or a parent or a sibling or anyone like that, a mentor, whatever, they're not going to judge you. If they're that close of in that close of a relationship with you and they do judge you, then it's best that you know now, because they need to get out. So find that out quickly. But yeah, just talk to someone you trust. And I find it's like sharing the burden, and they don't, that's not because I want you to carry it, but feeling like, if I've said to Ben, okay, I'm quite anxious about this situation we're going in today, that's all I'll have to say, and we won't talk any more about it. But in my head, you'll be looking out for me, I've just shared it, you're aware of it. I feel like we're going to be managing the situation together and I'm not alone in it.
It just helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does help. So talking to someone you trust. If you don't feel like you have anyone that you can talk to, there's plenty of charities online that do that kind of thing. We'll put some below to direct you to, because no one should feel that lonely. I hope some of those, any of those, all of those tips might be helpful. If you have any other tips that we haven't mentioned, put them below, because if I don't know about them, I want to check them out.
So if this video is helpful to you, or you think it'd be helpful to anybody you know, please give it a share and subscribe to our videos. We normally daily vlog and do other things and special videos like this, and we'd love you to be part of the team.
We do not daily vlog.
Oh, not daily vlog.
Day in the life.
Day in the life vlog, that's what I mean.
Like we have the commitment to daily vlog.
We did
Vlogmas.
That was a feat and a half. Anyway, we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Happy Mental Health Awareness Week. Bye.